The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. As Jesus and his disciples were proceeding on their journey, someone said to him, "I will follow you wherever you go." Jesus answered him, "Foxes have dens, and birds of the sky have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to rest his head." And to another he said, "Follow me." But he replied, "Lord, let me go first and bury my father." But he answered him, "Let the dead bury their dead, but you go and proclaim the kingdom of God." And another said, "I will follow you, Lord, but first let me say farewell to my family at home." Jesus answered him, "No one who sets a hand to the plow and looks to what was left behind is fit for the kingdom of God." The Gospel of the Lord.
No one who sets a hand to the plow and looks to what was left behind is fit for the kingdom of God. Difficult words to hear. First, setting a hand to the plow is akin here to doing the work in the vineyard. It's doing the work of ministry. It's apostolic activity. It's being sent and going to serve, becoming active in the ministry of the word of the gospel. But long before that can happen, there's a lot of other things that have to happen. That can happen on some really small, basic levels, right? We're all sent to be charitable with one another, to be patient with one another, to be kind and generous, and to provide for the needs of others, and all kinds of things that are very basic. But you got people first, before you're talking about setting a hand to the plow, they're saying, "I will follow you wherever you go." They're saying, "I want to go deeper into discipleship." And Jesus is telling them, that can be so easy. Foxes have dens, birds have nests. I've got nowhere to lay my head, right? There's no one place for me to call home. I'm always kind of on this preaching circuit, going around. If you want to follow me, well, let's go. But, right? He kind of continues the conversation by saying to another, "You follow me." Right? One of them says, "I'll follow you," and he says, "It's going to be tough. Better pump the brakes. Think it through and make sure you know what you're saying yes to." The other one, he says, "You follow me." Jesus sees something different in this other person, or maybe you could even say it's the same person in a different kind of phase of their life. He replied, "Lord, let me go first and bury my father." He says, "Let the dead bury their dead." Maybe you're not ready. Maybe you're still too attached to what will be left behind. That to follow Jesus does mean to make a radical kind of break with the world as we know it. That yes, we're going to continue to live in the world. We're not going to go and try to escape the world. We're not going to flee and run away from it. We have to be light in the midst of the world, in the midst of all of the worldly darkness that surrounds us. There's plenty of good to be found in the world, but it needs to be enlightened, the light of the gospel, the light of Christ. And to another he says, and another said, "I will follow you, Lord. First, let me say my farewell to my family at home." I guess it's kind of the same thing, right? This is where we get those opening lines from the homily. "No one sets a hand to the plow and looks to what was left behind is fit for the kingdom of God." Driving a plow, I imagine, is probably not an easy thing. I haven't done it, but I think there's a reason why they have strong beasts of burden pull the plow. And that to keep that plow in the right groove, head in the right direction, to make straight furrows for the seeds, you can't drive that thing looking to what was left behind and still be fit for the kingdom of God. There comes a moment in the Christian journey, actually, you could say many different moments, but I think there's probably at some point or other a most definitive moment saying, am I going to live for this world? And it's not an and, or am I going to live for Jesus? We can live for Jesus in the world, we can have communication with the world, but you can't live for the world and be living for Jesus. Jesus demands something that is complete, it's total, it's all-consuming. That when we are baptized into Christ, we are plunged, consumed, we are inundated with the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. And half measures simply will not do. So it's good for us to ask ourselves, Lord, where am I here? How attached am I to the things of this world? That might be the opinion of others. That might be caring too much about the ways of the world and worldly powers and politics. That might be material possessions. That might be career advancement, level of education, monetary gains. Could be anything. Could have to do with my own attractiveness and the ways that people get caught up in vanity of the visible world, amongst many other things. Have I made that most definitive of decisions to say, I'm willing to let go of those things. I'm willing to forsake the world in order to be joined fully to Christ. In the old wedding rite, part of the vows was not just do you and you take each other, it was, and do you forsake all others for the sake of your new spouse? Collectively, we are the bride of Christ, and for the two to become one flesh, that we might truly become the members of his own body, it becomes incumbent upon us to thoroughly reject anything that is not of God, to reject the flesh and the devil and the world, and to cling solely to Christ.